Hello there, hi. So in my last couple of posts, I've been talking about open space, what open space means. I've reflected, for example, that part of the reason this whole period of lockdown has felt so surreal might well be because our sense of space has been challenged. Stepping into other people's spaces becomes dangerous. Finding a space of our own is difficult. The open space that we thought we'd move into if we were off to university, into a new job, new project, that's been taken away. The social spaces, the workspaces that define us have been blocked. I then also talked about how in our work, one of the things we often do is help leaders find an open space for themselves and for their teams, where they can get back in touch with core values, with a core sense of purpose, where they can communicate freely and openly in order to open up space in their potential and move into the greatest open space of all, which is arguably opportunity. And I thought I'd go a bit further today by talking a little bit about the 7 warning signs that perhaps there's a lack of open space for you and for others. And in other words, what I'll be doing is defining open space with reference to its opposite, the lack of open space. So as I say, I think there are 7 key warning signs. I'm sure there are others, but these are the ones that we find most relevant in our work. Now, the first warning sign is that we start to lose track of who we are, what we care about, our values, our purpose. And the reason we're doing that is that we've cluttered up our open space with other people's expectations. In other words, we're seeking approval. We're going around the place looking for a pat on the back, a bit like looking for the approval of an influential parent. We've been infantilized to an extent. It's all about others, and we're not spending enough time getting back in touch with why we're doing it in the first place. So that's arguably the first and most important warning sign that open space doesn't exist at the moment for you. The second sign is that, and it's totally related, but we can start to feel disengaged, demotivated, demoralised. And at the same time, we don't know why, we don't fully recognise it, and we also don't know what to do about it. And it's often at those points when we've got more responsibilities than ever. We're involved in a whole number of live things. We're moving from one thing to the next, and we don't have time to take stock, to give those feelings a name, and to make a plan to do something differently. And that is entirely related to the third warning sign, which is about a lack of open space, really, in our diaries, to be absolutely honest. We don't spend enough time planning for conversations, for key meetings, thinking about what we want to say and how and who we're saying it to, and we don't spend enough time reflecting afterwards on what happened during that interaction. As Stephen Covey says in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it's in those moments that we learn most and that we achieve most and that we do most to prevent us having to get involved in lots of important urgent stuff. He describes planning and reflection as important and non-urgent, and that's what makes it so valuable and value-adding. And again, totally relatedly, because of this lack of planning, this lack of reflection, this lack of getting in touch with ourselves, we start to find it harder and harder really to express ourselves, particularly in group settings. We're with others, the meeting is in flow, we want to say something, we can see an opportunity and we miss that opportunity, somebody else says it, and then we spend some time thinking about that and feeling frustrated. And that can happen very, very often, no matter how senior a person becomes. So we're not finding an open space in which our voice can be heard by others. And the next warning sign is when it's not just us that's happening to, it's others. So at a team level, there isn't a safe, open space in which people can talk freely, make suggestions, ask naive questions, experiment, innovate. So at a team level, there may well be a lack of open space. And fundamentally, all of these factors can lead to individuals and teams finding it hard to differentiate themselves. And in a lot of my work, very, very often, people are struggling with feedback that goes along the lines of, now it is time for you to dial up your impact and your presence. And people don't know what to do about that. They don't know how to respond to that bit of feedback. They don't know why it's there or what they can do about it without indulging in all sorts of inauthentic politicking. So they struggle. And, these 6 warning signs ultimately lead to the 7th, which is when we start to experience that there's a lack of direction in our lives. We don't actually know anymore what the next open space might be. We think nostalgically back on those times when we didn't have to ask such a question. It came, it appeared, we moved into it, it was wonderful and exciting, and then we moved on. So 7 warning signs that an open space is potentially required for you to really gather your strength and move forwards. And if you recognise any of these, I'd encourage you to think about that. Think about why. Spend some time reflecting, and arguably the best way is to do that with others. Do it with a buddy, do it with a mentor, do it with a coach. And, of course, if it would be useful to talk about any of these things with us, please don't hesitate to get in touch. It would be great to hear from you. Thanks very much.